Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving into an absolutely breathtaking narrative, straight from classical mystical literature. It's one of those stories that just forces you to completely rethink everything you thought you knew about obedience, rebellion, and ultimate devotion. You know, those big themes we all secretly wrestle with when we're questioning our own sense of destiny and free will. Well, we're looking at this ancient, highly charged encounter between two massive cosmic forces. And the kicker? This brief meeting doesn't happen up in the heavens. It happens right here, in the realm of dust.
To really grasp the weight of this story, we need to map out our characters. On the left, we have Archangel Israfil. Now, if you're coming from a Western tradition, you're definitely going to recognize him as Archangel Raphael, the Great Herald. And on the right, we have Iblis, much more famously known in the West as Lucifer, the Fallen One. This entire explainer revolves around a devastating, deeply philosophical dialogue between these two super familiar figures, and it's translated directly from a profound Persian source text.
Okay, let's dive into this setting. Our narrative kicks off with Raphael passing through what's called Nasut. Basically, Nasut is the material realm. It's our physical universe, the world of dust, clay, and form. So as Raphael is moving through this physical space with a few other angels, he spots something startling. He sees a lone dervish wrapped up in this heavy black cloak, furiously pouring dust over his own head. I mean, he's in a state of absolute abject mourning.
And this is where it gets really dramatic, because Raphael doesn't just see some random stranger. He recognizes this mourning figure immediately. It's Lucifer. But the text adds this absolutely piercing detail. Raphael actually remembers him as his former master. He recognizes the Fallen One from this glorious era way back, long before humanity even existed, long before Adam was even formed from the clay of the earth.
So Raphael, seeing his old master in such a miserable state, calls out to him, and his words are incredibly sharp. He literally shouts, "O rebel, do you know me?" It's such a bold, jarring confrontation, right? You have the angel of pure obedience directly challenging the ultimate cosmic symbol of rebellion, demanding to be recognized.
But Lucifer, he doesn't cower at all. His reply is this sharp rebuke that's just steeped in tragic, crushing nostalgia. He fires back, "I had a time with God where no close angel could fit." Wow, he's reminding Raphael of his former glory, right? This supreme, absolute intimacy with the divine that even the highest, closest angels couldn't penetrate. And then he asks, almost bitterly, how the turning wheel of time has fallen so far that Raphael now dares to shout at him like that.
Now this leads us right to the heart of the text. Raphael asks a question that strikes at the ultimate visual paradox of this whole encounter. He asks, "Why did you refuse to rub your forehead in the dust, yet now you pour dust all over your head?" Think about that for a second. The entire reason for Lucifer's fall was his absolute refusal to bow to Adam, a creature made of mere dust. He couldn't bear to dirty his forehead even once. So why is he now sitting in the material realm, willingly pouring that exact same dust all over himself in sorrow?
Instead of answering directly, Lucifer brilliantly shifts the focus. He throws a profound question right back at Raphael. He says, "O Raphael, you were the first to bow to Adam. Tell me the truth. When you stepped forward to fall at his feet, who gave you the firm steps to go forward and not tremble?" It's a genius move. He forces the archangel to look at his own agency. Lucifer is essentially asking, was your obedience truly your own doing?
And Raphael's answer? It's profound. It actually serves as the philosophical anchor for this entire narrative. He simply replies, "Not a leaf falls except by the will of God." It's this absolute statement of divine will. The archangel fully acknowledges that his ability to step forward, the fact that he didn't tremble, his very obedience, none of it was born from his own independent power. It was entirely permitted and enacted by the divine.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how brilliantly Lucifer uses Raphael's own logic against him. Lucifer stands up and declares, "By that same God who keeps me standing now, he was the one who held me in place that day so I wouldn't step forward to bow to Adam." Do you see the symmetry here? God gave the angel the firm steps to bow, and that exact same God held the fallen one back from bowing. The text is presenting this radical, challenging idea that both absolute obedience and absolute rebellion are governed by the exact same source, the exact same divine axiom. So if the rebellion was destined by divine will, we're still left with that paradox of the dust, right? Why is Lucifer pouring it all over his head? Well, we finally arrive at the ultimate synthesis of our story.
Lucifer tells Raphael that he simply cannot understand the secret of this dust pouring, because, well, he's an angel. And angels, Lucifer claims, do not know the secret of love.
This builds such a fascinating contrast. On the left, we have the angel. In this mystical framework, angels are beings of pure reason and light, right? They're designed for absolute, unquestioning obedience. They do exactly what they're commanded without any internal conflict whatsoever. But on the right, we have Lucifer. His refusal to bow wasn't born out of mere arrogance, like the traditional story usually tells us. It was out of a tragic, consuming love for the divine. A love so absolute and so jealous that it completely refuses to bow to anything material, anything other than God himself. To the angel's pure reason, this makes zero sense, but to the lover, it's the only path.
The source text concludes with this stunning poetic climax. Lucifer declares, "An angel does not know love, otherwise no angel would look at dust while beside God." Boom! So the crucial point is this. Lucifer pours dust on his head in eternal mourning because he is separated from the beloved. He refused to look at the dust of Adam when he was in the supreme presence of God. The angels, completely lacking this agonizing, all-consuming jealousy of love, were perfectly fine turning their gaze away from God to bow to a creature made of mud.
This short, ancient encounter literally flips everything we think we know completely upside down. It uses this brilliantly structured dialogue to challenge our everyday assumptions about agency, about destiny, and about the totally mysterious depths of devotion. And it leaves us with this profound question that just lingers long after this explainer ends. Does true, consuming love actually require an element of tragic rebellion?